Good afternoon to you all. I, Gauri Bansal, heartily welcome you all to the very first session in our series of 5 introductory sessions on different facets of ADR, titled Introductory Session on Negotiation by Mediation Cell, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. With immense pleasure, I would like to introduce our speaker for the day, Dr. Sunanda Bharti, Professor of Law at Law Center 1, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, having a vast experience in teaching and training over her illustrious career of nearly 2 decades. With immense pleasure, I would like to Dr. Bharti is an alumnus of SRCC and the Faculty of Law, DU. She is a patron of the Mediation Cell and a certified professional mediator from Indian Institute of Arbitration and Mediation. She has published a variety of works related to IPR, jurisprudence, and mediation, and even has an experience in the law publishing industry. Welcome, ma'am. We are really honored to have you here with us. Our today's topic is negotiation, which is mostly the first attempted and the most straightforward form of ADR, wherein the parties themselves communicate to reach a mutually acceptable solution with full control and convenience. Thus, it is less formal and offers flexibility. Now, without any further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Sunanda Bharti to share her insights on the topic. And meanwhile, if you have questions for our speakers, you can keep posting them in the chat box. Ma'am, over to you. Yes, ma'am, we will just get that done.
Yes, all right. So I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And convenience. Thus, it is less formal.
First of all, let me just
flexibility.
attempt sharing my
I would like to invite Dr. Sunanda Bharti
screen.
to share.
Just give me a moment. Just let me know when your screen shows something, because here it says sharing is successful.
Yes, ma'am, we can see the screen.
All right, great. So, first of all, thank you very much for having me here, and it's really a pleasure to be addressing the students of the Faculty of Law. I believe most of you are FOL students. And I do hope that all the 3 centers are being represented here. So, yes, as you can see on the screen, it says Introductory Session on Negotiation. Now, since it's the introductory session, I have confined myself to just the basics. I would not be dealing with the nitty-gritties of negotiation. And as a preface, let me just start by saying and sort of underscoring that I'm here to talk about negotiation basics, right, which form the bedrock of ADR, that is alternative dispute resolution, which is a full-fledged compulsory course, which all of you would be studying in your final year of LLB, if you are a Delhi University student. Okay. Now, to start with, how I have sort of formulated the initial slides of my presentation, I have focused on pointers that are necessary for negotiation. right? So, which form the preface of negotiation in the sense that how should one get oneself ready for negotiation. So, it all comes under negotiation preparedness, right? And here, to begin with, the first thing that I would like to highlight is that, and this despite being an ADR professional, despite being a mediator, despite being into the profession as such on a pro bono basis for quite some time now, I would like to emphasize that it's easier to talk about negotiation or alternative dispute resolution as such. But actually, when it comes to the real life situations, it's easier said than done because it requires uh, a training of minds. It requires a certain mindset to get yourselves adapted to this collaborative and non-adversarial approach. Okay, I hope all the attendees here they are fluent with Hindi as well. So if I sort of switch to Hindi in the course of my discussion, would that be a problem, moderator?
Ma'am, I think it would be fine, and if any problem would be there, we will let you know.
Okay, great. Okay, so जो बेसिक और मुद्दे की बात है वो ये है कि बहुत आसान है ये कह देना कि भाई सुलह कर लीजिए, समझौता कर लीजिए, मध्यस्थता कर लीजिए, राइट? मीडिएशन, अडॉप्ट मीडिएशन. व्हाई आर यू हेल बेंट ऑन लिटिगेशन एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ? इट्स easy to say that, but when it comes to actual reality, people are like, see, it is we who are feeling the grievance. It is we who are in a certain situation, and hence it is easy for you to preach, right? We would want to we repose trust in the court system or the court mechanism more than anybody else, than our own capabilities, and that is the basic roadblock that one hits, right, whenever one is talking about alternative dispute resolution in the real sense of the term. We as in all of us, the it is human nature, basically, to begin with, that we tend to repose trust in the court system more than our own selves. So we feel that it हम तो सक्षम है ही नहीं अपने जो मसले हैं वो सुलझाने के लिए, इसलिए कोर्ट ही हमारी जो है हमारे लिए सॉल्यूशन प्रोवाइडर का काम कर सकती है. So we look up to the courts, and this is the main, as I said, issue that one encounters when one starts practicing this system of ADR, that is negotiation, mediation, and arbitration. So we have to fight this mindset to begin with. And the first thing that I would like to highlight here is I'm giving you 5 pointers, okay? In the course of this today's discussion, I'll be giving you 5 pointers which you can take as in the form of a mantra. Okay, these are the 5 uh, points of that mantra which you should be in a position to which you should grasp in the first place if you are to successfully negotiate, whether it's a hardcore legal negotiation you are doing, or an emotional negotiation, or a salary negotiation, whatever be the level at which you might be negotiating. These are the 5 points that you have to basically grasp, basically internalize, right, and master if you are to succeed at any sort of negotiation. So first point, I'll move to quickly slide 2. It says, just a second, is the slide moving at all?
Not yet.
Okay. Now,
yes, now
is
it's
it
moving? Yeah, it is.
Okay, so as you can see, it says, when we are on the edge of a cliff, progress might mean taking a step backwards. Progress might mean taking a step backwards. Now, I would give you 10 seconds to grasp the gravity of this quotation, uh, because this marks the first basic thing that we need to do. Uh, we need to stop everything and take an overview of the situation whenever we feel that we are to negotiate. And believe it or not, we negotiate only uh, when we are either into a conflict already, all right, or when we are trying to avoid a conflict. We negotiate only on these two junctures, broadly speaking, right? And so what do we need to do? We need to take a step backwards in order, and that how is that important? Because that enables us to take an overview of the situation in peace, okay, and question ourselves, put some fundamental questions to ourselves. It enables that situation enables us to assess. First thing, why should I be negotiating at all? Should I be negotiating at all? What are my strong points? What are my weaknesses? What are my interests? Or what are the strong points and weaknesses of my the other party, the so-called my adversary, right? What are my rights that I'm trying to vindicate through negotiation? What will I gain out of it? What will I lose out of this? Right? Am I ready? Am I prepared to negotiate? What is my plan B? Right? If this negotiation fails, what next? Right? Am I ready to talk? That is the fundamental point. Am I ready to talk in the first place? Because if you are reposing trust in your in the court systems, you might not be there might not be any occasion for you to talk that much. Your lawyer is going to do it for you. But then if it is direct negotiation with the help of which you are trying to resolve your conflict, then it is you who has to take control of the entire situation, right? And hence, you have to get yourselves ready to talk. And this is the first mantra, that we need to talk. And with this, let me just share a connecting slide. And can you see the third slide?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
All right. Okay. So now this at least I find it to be a very interesting slide. Why? Because it takes me back to that wonderful webinar that I once happened to not exactly witness, but at least hear the recorded version, where the master negotiator, William Ury. William Ury is a name which is a renowned name in negotiation the world over, right? And those who are sufficiently and intrigued might want to, search the name on Google or whatever search engine you would prefer, and the results, the hits that you'll get are likely to give you uh, the importance of this name, right? He is an anthropologist primarily, but also an expert negotiator. And in that webinar, he narrated the story of Bushmen. A picture of the Bushmen. Bushmen is a tribe, Bushmen of Kalahari. Back in the fifth or sixth grade, we used to, in our geography lessons, we must have read about the Bushmen of Kalahari. The same Bushmen, the same tribe. He was narrating the story of the Bushmen of Kalahari, who live much like our ancestors to date. They, of course, the number of these tribesmen has reduced considerably, but then whichever be the number, whatever be the number, they still live like primitive men. Primitive in the sense they are hunter gatherers. They hunt and gather food, and for hunting they use poisoned arrows. And as an anthropologist, this chap William Ury, he was curious to know as to what they would do in cases of conflict. Uh, in case where there arises a situation for them to negotiate, right? What would they do? Would they actually negotiate? Because they carry lethal weapons and they use them day in and day out for their survival. These poisoned arrows. So his understanding was, or his presumption was that they might, this tribe might not be conducive to talking at all, right? And they would do something much more aggressive. Um, but to his surprise, he realized that
Hello?
when tempers rise,
Hello?
they
Hi.
this tribe, it behaves in a very, very methodical and orderly fashion in order to resolve the conflict. And he observed
मैं
because he
उठी
was
लेट
living
में
amongst them. He was
फिर वो जो नहीं थी
undertaking
वो
a study by
मेडिटेशन
living
चल रही थी
amongst them,
सेकंड सेशन का
right?
वो चल
And
रहा है
he
तो मुझे
observed
लाइव
that
स्ट्रीम करना है
whenever the
अरे
situation is out of
तूने
control or is about to go
नहीं
out of
यार बिल्कुल भी
control,
नहीं है
one person, the elder of this tribe, the elder person, or the punch, you can say, he used to designate one person to hide the poisoned arrows.
हाँ
Okay, his only task was to just collect the poisoned arrows from
किसने
all people available, all the households,
शरत में
and
बैठा के
hide it at an
कैसे
undesignated or secret hideout. Okay, and then they would sit around. They would sit around in a circle and talk.
एग्रीकल्चर फार्म
And this
प्रिंसिपल शरत
talk,
मराठा वाज
they
नॉट
would talk
रिस्पांसिबल
for
आर यू
hours. They would
सीरियस
talk for days till a resolution is reached, right? And if after this there is still a conflict situation that is prevailing, after say this 1 week, seventh day, the conflict is still prevailing, then the
व्हाट
village
बुड्ढे
elder
अंकल
would send one party to the
सच
conflict, would
में
be sent off uh, as a
काफी
compulsory sort
इन्फ्लुएंशियल
of
था जब वो फार्म
protocol
बिल्स के
to a
पीछे था तो
relative. So this is
उसे प्रोटेस्ट करा दिया फिर
a
तो बहुत
standard operating protocol that they follow, right? And this person, so
हाँ
one
और
party is
बहुत
sent on to
पहले
the
चला
relative,
गया तो उसके
and
दिमाग में मुझे
this
लगता है कॉर्पोरेट
provides
जैसा दिमाग
the
था अंकल का
required
शुरू
cooling
से ही
off period, and also a period to reflect back. A while ago, I was talking about
शिट यार मुझे अभी देखना
that
है
wonderful
सेंड मी द लिंक
quotation that when 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 you're on the edge of a
हाँ
cliff, progress might mean taking a step backwards, right? So
ओके थैंक यू
you take a step backwards, you take an overview of the
अरे
situation,
यार
and you
बिल्कुल भी
start talking.
नहीं
That is the first step that you do in order to prepare yourselves for negotiation. You
मैं
have
तो
to
परेशान
take the
हो गई यार
situation in your own command and talk.
नहीं
Fine. That is the basic sort of uh,
नहीं
pointer mantra. Now, so we talk. That is the first,
नहीं
and then it says, okay, there is
कहाँ
another wonderful
कहाँ
uh, quotation. Now, before
वो तो फिर
I
बाद
deal
में
with this quotation, I hope till now, whatever I've shared, though haven't shared
हाँ
much, it is making sense because I would be needing some response from the limited audience that we have here. I hope what I've shared just now is making sense.
कहाँ पर
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
you're certain.
ठीक
It's
है
all going good.
बाय
Okay. So the first mantra we have done, we talk. Second
अरे
is there before you on
नहीं
the
मेरी फ्रेंड आई थी
slide.
निक्की आई
It
थी ना तुम
says,
जानती है निक्की
and
को
this is a riddle
वो
for
गई अभी
you.
अभी
Uh,
जस्ट अभी हाँ
it's an ancient philosophical
नहीं मुझे
riddle, and it says, if a tree falls in a
जाना था
forest
उसको
with
सॉर्ट ऑफ
no human dwelling
मतलब
around,
आई डिडंट
right? Does it still make a sound?
कहाँ पे
Yes. Can somebody
मंडी
answer this riddle? Can somebody make an attempt to answer? Does it still make a sound? It's quite a philosophical riddle.
थैंक
The
यू
answer is not that clear cut, but then I would like to still, have a response. If a tree falls in a forest with no human dwelling around, does it still make a sound?
नहीं
or there would not be any sound?
It would be a sound, but there is no one to listen, so the very existence of that sound doesn't matter.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, so there is one scientific explanation, and the science people, of course, they operate on a different tangent altogether, and they would say that yes, so what if there is no human dwelling around? There would be some waves made in the air, and hence, kuch to आवाज होगी ही होगी. But for social sciences people, and particularly if we relate it to the topic at hand, which we are doing, that is conflict resolution and um, primarily negotiation, the answer is that um, for in order for it to make a sound, there's got to be an ear to hear it, right? If no one listens, technically speaking, it cannot be referred to as communication, right? So, the second basic point in order to prepare ourselves for negotiation is that we listen. Listening, they say, is the missing half of communication, and often overlooked, right? If you just sort of observe your surroundings and your daily routine, you'll realize there is we are living in the era of communication technology where we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have WhatsApp, we have Snapchat, and 110 other such blogging, micro blogging platforms, and so on and so forth, where everybody wants to talk, right? But so there's so much talking going on, but actually, how much of listening, right? And so the second important task is to kill the urge to talk and develop the discipline to listen, right? And when we say listening, it is active listening that one talks about in negotiation. Active listening is when you concentrate and respond. It's not that you are absent-mindedly just because your hearing faculties are okay. You are just um, listening by virtue of that. It is you are concentrating, you are paying attention, and also you are responding appropriately. So only when you listen in this fashion uh, 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 that you give your mind the opportunity to process what you are listening, and your heart the possibility of empathizing with it, right? So first is we talk, second is we listen, and let's look at what is the third point in that mantra, where we are wanting to prepare ourselves for negotiation. Okay, so the third is this. Yes, in order to know the third one, we need to crack this. Let's solve this. Just take a moment to read what is written on the slide and tell me the answer. Many of you might have already come across this um, as a riddle, as a WhatsApp forward, something, something of that sort. So many of you might actually be knowing the answer, but still, I would need a response in order to reveal the third point of the mantra to you. Yes. Yes, there is someone. Charlene is wanting to
Yes,
say something.
yes, ma'am. So the doctor is a lady, and she is a mother of the injured of the son.
Excellent, excellent. Again, thank you, Charlene. Yes. So, um, the as rightly pointed out by Charlene, this lady, the doctor, is the mother of the injured uh, candidate here. And whenever I put this, so this is a very standard kind of a psychological, uh, assessment test, which is actually from a book on psychology, which I use in order to assess something. And so many times, the kind of responses that I get are so warped, so contorted, to the extent that people go on and come up with strange permutations and combinations, like this. The father in the car must be the holy father, the Christian father, and this doctor must be the real father of the injured candidate, and so on and so forth. Uh, Pointing out at something important. Whenever I get such responses, or whenever this particular slide draws such responses, I kind of tend to emphasize that our mind operates in a certain way, right? And not only in the context of this particular slide, in general, it tends to operate in a certain patterned way. And in this context, that patterned way is something that associates the expression doctor with that of a male. Okay. And so the third basic learning, third part of that mantra is that one should, in order to understand negotiation or any aspect of conflict resolution through negotiation, the first, the third point that one must remember is one should not presume, right? We are, all those who were operating on that level, where you were thinking that, okay, this thinking of a different answer. They were moving on a certain presumption, wherein you were trying to associate the fact of someone being a doctor with that of a male. That is a presumption, right? So we are not supposed to presume. Presumption is, believe it or not, more than 50% of the conflicts. They arise because of presumptions, because we tend to presume and we do not confirm when in doubt, right? So we talk, we listen, and we do not presume. What do we do rather? We have to confirm when in doubt, right? So, and with this, I think we are ready to move to the fourth point of the mantra. And the fourth point is, okay, for some reason this, is it moving at all? Yes.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. We do not presume. So yes, this is just to underscore and emphasize the 3 points that we have done. And the figure is self-explanatory. We have to, literally speaking, open our mind to all sorts of possibilities, right? And be prepared to accept all those possibilities rather than presuming. And much of the presumption part happens because we do not talk properly, we do not gather information properly, or we do not listen properly. Okay. So,
25th या बल्कि मंडे तक ही
yes, we talk, we listen,
मंडे
we do
तक
not
हूँ, मंडे में
presume,
जा रही
we
हूँ, और मंडे जाने के
confirm.
बाद 24 25 को
Fine.
कॉलेज का काम करके
Let's
मैं
move to
रक्षाबंधन पे
the
आ जाऊँगी
next level, and this is the fifth part
क्योंकि
of the
उसका जो ना उसका क्लैट
mantra,
हेड गया है
5-point
क्या गया
mantra.
नहीं है
Now,
मैं मंडे तक हूँ तेरे साथ से निकलूंगी
again, I'll give you 10 seconds to grasp the gravity, or grasp the weight that is attached to this
सुबह भी
simple
उठाइए रघु
quotation.
उठा रही ऐसी
I
बात नहीं है
find it to be a very profound. I find it to be very profound as such. So it is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. He is an American poet, and he basically said this.
अरे इनके बारे में
He
कुत्ता
says,
लाके डे केयर में रख लो ठीक है फिर तो
what he did not say
तो करते ही हैं
was so loud that I hardly heard what he said. So here, the fifth point is we should focus on the body language as well, the non-verbal communication. So the non-verbal cues are sometimes even more important than the verbal part. So there is another quotation which I feel I should use right now. If I say, and again I would want some response, if I say that I'm speaking two languages right now, I speak two languages. You can see me on the screen and I'm speaking two languages. Does it make sense to you? Yes. We have around 30, close to 30 students here. Does it make sense if I say I speak two languages? Right
Yes,
now I'm
ma'am.
speaking two languages. Yes, Trishti, good. Okay, so can you deconstruct? Can you elaborate on what you are,
Yeah,
why
ma'am.
you said whatever?
One language is that you're verbally speaking your words or sentences, and the other is your body language, your actions, or your hand movements, your gestures. From that we can also decipher.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, Srishti is absolutely right. And that is what this quote, what appears on the slide, actually is emphasizing on. It says, what he did not say was so loud, I hardly heard what he said. See, sometimes in negotiation, as I said, मोटे तौर पर negotiate हम कब करते हैं? हम negotiate तब करते हैं जब नेगोशिएट करने की नौबत आ जाए, यानी कि वी आर ऑलरेडी इन अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट सिचुएशन, राइट? और सेकंड पॉइंट इज वी आर वांटिंग टू अवॉइड अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, फाइन. So in both the situations, the scenario might be that emotions might be running too high with both the parties or with one party. Depends, right? Whatever be the situation, if there are if one party is getting too emotional, too angry, too agitated, then, and if both are getting agitated, then it becomes very difficult to negotiate, right? And hence it requires, this whole negotiation business requires a certain level of patience also, right? Patience to not only listen to what is being said, but also listen to what is not being said, right? Because that is going to give you a whole lot of understanding of the whole scenario at a different level. Your understanding would be taken to a different level if you are able to grasp the body language, as Srishti mentioned, your gestures, uh, your silences also sometimes need to be interpreted, right? So your apprehensive expressions, your particularly in a classroom situation, as a teacher I'm able to make out with the head nodding of the students, with their hand clasps, with their silence, with their confused expressions, whether with their raised hands or lack of raised hands, right? It all speaks to me in a different way altogether. So fifth point of the mantra is we listen to even those things that are not being said, that have not been said. So let's just do a brief roundup, a brief wrap up of the points, and the next slide would be doing it. Yes, 5 basics reloaded. First is we talk. Second is we listen, right? We talk से पहले भी एक चीज थी, we take an we stop everything and we take an overview of the situation. Otherwise, we are, take it from me that we are not ready to negotiate. If we haven't taken that first basic preface step, then we are not ready to negotiate. Okay, so we stop everything, we take an overview of the situation, we ask ourselves some basic questions. Why should I be negotiating? Why am I doing this? Right? Am I ready to do this? Because this would involve a lot of talking. Am I ready to talk? Right? So we talk. Second is we listen. We do not presume. Presumptions are fatal to negotiations. What do? We confirm. And lastly, fifth point, we also listen to what has not been said. Okay? And once we feel that we are ready or we have mastered these, then we can begin with our negotiation actually. Okay, so before we begin with what is negotiation, there is something very, very important that we need to understand, and that is what is conflict. बिकॉज अगर हम ये कह रहे हैं कि हम नेगोशिएट ही तब करते हैं, दो सिचुएशंस में करते हैं हम नेगोशिएट, जब हम या तो हम कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अवॉइड करना चाह रहे हैं या हम ऑलरेडी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में फंस चुके हैं। अगर हम इस प्रमाइस पर चल रहे हैं तो वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज कॉन्फ्लिक्ट। एंड अगेन आई वुड रिक्वायर सम रिस्पॉन्स। व्हाट यू सी ऑन द स्लाइड, there are 5 points. You can read those points? Yes, quickly tell me. Can you read those points?
मैं के साथ करके बच्चे करा
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है, तो
Shall I read them out?
yeah, please do that.
So the first one is situation of competition. Second one is where there is a communication lapse. Third is a lack of communication. Fourth is the difference in perspective. And the fifth one is the difference of opinion.
Okay. Now, since they have been read out aloud by Anuj, thank you, Anuj. There is one task,
जब से बच्चा ही कर रहा
10-second task, that is attached with this slide. And you have to tell me what you read on the slide. Is that conflict? Can we define conflict that way?
और बहुत क्लेanliness के साथ इसको पीछे ही रखना है।
And then of course it is not an exhaustive list. You can add, that's the reason why etc. has been added. So you can add as many pointers as you feel like there. But then can we say that all this is conflict?
भैया
I will need a quick response so that we can proceed further.
Yes, they actually are the very
लेकिन
characteristics
तेरा
of a
प्यार
conflict.
झलक रहा है।
लेकिन बात ये है कि
Okay. Gauri says they are the characteristics of
पहले कुत्ता नहीं था और बुआ को भी
conflict.
बहुत लगता था।
बैठ तो सही
Fine.
जा।
Anuj has
अब तो
raised
बुलंद
hand.
जाता तो घर में कुछ
Okay.
चेंज लगता
Yes,
है
ma'am.
घर में स्मेल आ रही है
Okay.
कुछ हो रहा है।
Yeah.
So I think these are factors that
इनके बाल बहुत
lead to a conflict. I mean, these are can be said as the primary factors that arise like just before a conflict.
Excellent. Both are
बुआ ये कह रही थी कि जब पहले
good responses. Thank you, Gauri and Anuj.
पहला भी नहीं
All right. So I'll start with what Gauri said. And Gauri says that yes, they appear to be. And correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm
ये वेब का मुझे भेज दे।
you know sort of paraphrasing it differently or incorrectly. What you meant was that these are the predominant
अरे अच्छा
factors
नहीं लगता यार, अच्छा
on the
नहीं
basis of
लगता।
which
जैसे घर
conflict
में
can be
जाते हैं,
defined.
हम शरदन का घर में
Yes.
जाते हैं, उनसे ज़्यादा पैसे
Yes,
को
these are
खत्म
the very
करते हैं।
character traits.
वो ग्रूम रखते हैं तन्मय भैया।
Okay, these are the very characteristics.
बाबा स्मेल नहीं
And
आता
Anuj
घर
said
पे।
yes, they
वो
are
चाटते रहता है
the
बैठ
reasons.
के।
Yes,
These lead to a conflict.
these lead to a conflict. These
मुझे घर
lead
का
to a
aesthetic नहीं
conflict.
बिगाड़ना।
All right. Now, another sort of thought-provoking question
तुम इस बात को
that
पता नहीं क्यों डिनाई कर रहे हो, थोड़ा घर
that I'm
चेंज
going
हो
to
जाता है।
put to you right now.
But do we really need it?
If we say these are conflict, if we say that this is conflict or these points they define conflict, that would be a tad bit wrong because and you need to give me whether I'm correct. In my assessment, if I say that this is a definition, what you see on the slide, this is a definition of conflict, then it would be a bit wrong. Why? Because to me they appear to be reasons, as Anuj also has put. These things lead to a conflict. So they appear to be more in the nature of reasons that lead to a conflict. Reasons for a
तुम इस
conflict.
पैसे दे
Am I
दो।
correct?
कब? आज अभी
Yes, ma'am.
2 साल बाद भी रहा था पुराने
Yeah.
वाला, उसका
So
नाम भी
अच्छा, अब इतना सारी स्टोरी या इतना सारा सब
किसी भी
जो हमने
इसके
build up
बाद
किया, ये
हुआ,
क्यों
2
किया?
साल चल रहा है।
There is a reason.
और कभी कभार ले जाते हैं
If these are reasons for conflict, these and more, of course, more can be added. If these are reasons for conflict because of which we enter any negotiation situation, ठीक है? अगर ये reasons हैं, तो यानी कि ये reasons हटा दिए जाएं, तो conflict चली जानी चाहिए. Yes or no? Conflict should disappear.
I don't think so, ma'am, that conflict would disappear if these reasons are like, taken out. According to me, there can be a conflict even if there's communication or even if there is the same opinion between people. Because according to me, conflict is basically an argument. Like even if there's the same opinion, there can be a different
वो बहुत रईस है
ideology
हन्ना
behind that.
हाँ
So
ठीक
I
है
don't
मुझे
think
भी
so
पता
that
है
even after taking all
मुझे
of them
पता
out,
है
there
मैं
would be no
जानती हूँ
conflict. It's not correct.
हमारे बैच के समझ में भी नहीं इसके ऊपर वाले उसके नीचे वाले जानते नहीं हैं उसे।
Okay, Anuj also has to. Yes, Anuj.
I wouldn't say that they would disappear, but yes, eliminating these would reduce conflicts to a great extent, but not
Reduce
100%.
them. All right, but not 100%. And Srishti is saying, from what I could gauge, कि अगर ये भी हटा दें तो शायद कुछ नहीं आ जाएंगी इनकी जगह.
Yeah, like it's not entirely upon these कि इनको निकाल दो एकदम तो conflict होगा ही नहीं.
एक बात है क्या कहते हैं
Okay.
ऐसा कभी नहीं होता
So I believe all the rest
अगर एक आध साल बाद भी अगर जिनको दिक्कत हो छोड़
28, 29
एक आध साल बाद भी छोड़ दो
participants would agree with what has been shared by Srishti and Anuj right now. Because I would agree. I would definitely would want to align my thoughts with what has been shared by Srishti and Anuj right now. Because that has been my experience, and I'll share my experience with you. My limited experience with negotiation, my limited experience as a mediator, gives me to,
यहाँ
state
तेरी एक
this
महीने की छुट्टी चल
safely.
रही होती तू आ जाती है, तू करती रहती
It is impossible to define conflict. Okay? Even if we try attempt, if we take an attempt at defining conflict, what we can come up with is the reasons behind the conflict, some of which you see on the screen.
हटा दे
ठीक है?
सिंथेटिक वाले कपड़े
अब अगर हम reasons पर आ गए,
इसमें कपड़ा दे
so the logic says, if you purely go by
बंद कर
logic,
दे थोड़ी देर
right,
के
you'll
जा
feel that
बंद करके आ
okay,
खड़ी हो
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हम डिफाइन नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन हम
कपड़ा लेके
रीजंस
जाओ।
उसके असाइन कर सकते हैं कि हाँ ये चीज सिचुएशंस ये सिचुएशन कैन लीड टू कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. तो यानी कि अगर रीजंस हमें पता है, वी रिमूव दीज रीजंस, रिमूव द कॉजेस, द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट शुड डिसअपियर. बट
वो क्रेट से निकल
one curious part, if one curious
कोशिश कर
part of conflict is that it cannot be defined. It is more easy to understand conflict than to define conflict. That's one of the most curious parts
डबल
of
करके उड़ाती हूँ
strange parts of conflict that I have experienced. Second, because everybody, each one of you, I hope would nod with me in agreement when if I say, do you understand conflict?
हमारे घर पे कांटा काटा
Yes, is there anyone who does not understand, who has never experienced conflict? It might not be a heavy duty dispute, a legal tussle, but then do you understand conflict? Is there anyone who does not understand conflict?
जिंदा से चीटा भी रह सकता
Yes. शायद ही कोई होगा ऐसा, right? So it's difficult to define, easy to understand. That's
चल
one
बड़ा इन हो
part.
जाएंगे
Secondly, even if we take an attempt at defining conflict, all that we can come up with is reasons behind the conflict. Third part, if we know the reasons, logic says remove the reasons, conflict should disappear. But conflict does not disappear. It is an integral part of our being, right? Conflict does not disappear.
शनिवार
That's
के
the
दिन
third curious part.
तो
So
शनिवार
that
का
means
होता है
we have to live with
वहाँ
it.
सही जगह
Answer seems to be an uncomfortable yes. How to learn to live with it is the whole point where negotiation becomes
काला है
important.
मुझे तो ब्राउन
Okay, or conflict management becomes important. Okay, एक और चीज, एक last
रवि
question
पंडित जी को कॉल
is what is peace? Is peace absence of conflict? Just one last question, quickly. Yash.
Yeah, ma'am. I would like to say that I don't think peace, if like it means an end to conflict, it could also mean that that one finds some relief
ये नहीं
in that
confess देती दुम्बा
conflict,
आज ही
that
दिया ही
even though it is still existing, that the
लो
parties
हाई
are
करने
fine
लगते
with
कुत्ते
that
में तो
conflict
दुश्मन है
or they reconcile with it. So I believe that conflict is quite natural, that it can, I don't think it can totally end. There will always be conflict. But with peace, one can reconcile with that, even though that conflict exists.
Okay, okay. Very profound, Yash. Thank you. Yes, Anuj.
Ma'am, adding to what Yash said, I agree with him on that. And I wanted to say that for me, it's a cyclical process. So a conflict is followed by peace, and then again, it's followed by conflict. So for me, that's the understanding.
Okay, so it's a circle.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Some interesting responses, I would say. So, which makes me feel that we are ready for the next slide.
कुल्फी ले आइयो
And the next slide is, a while ago I had asked, what is peace? Is peace absence of conflict? Peace is not absence of conflict because we cannot absent conflict from our lives. It remains. Okay. One or the other type of conflict is going to remain in our lives. If the 5 points mentioned on the previous slide, they go, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 will take their place, and so on and so forth. So yes, it is a vicious circle, and our life is fit in that vicious circle somewhere, right? So peace is not absence of conflict, rather peace is the ability to deal with it.
दोनों
And this is a wonderful quotation by father of this nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Peace is not absence of conflict, it is rather the ability to deal with it. So if what we have to do is to quickly reconcile to this fact, as one of you used this expression also, I think Yash, we have to quickly reconcile to this fact that conflict is going to remain one or the other. It is going to remain in our lives. So what is the best thing that we can do with conflict is, what is the best thing? The best thing is to develop the ability to deal with it. And that is where negotiation comes into picture. Okay. With that, let me just move to the next slide. Since we are on the developing the ability to deal with conflict, and I say negotiation is nothing but this, developing, enhancing our abilities to deal with conflict. Before we proceed further, it's important for you to sort of read this and put your combined heads together to solve this. Again, this is a very popular orange example. It's a very popular example used in management, used in psychology. So many of you, there are chances that many of you might have already read it, come across it in the various disciplines that you have already been a part of. So two siblings are engaged in a heated dispute over a juicy orange. There is one orange in a household, two kids. Let's say one is 13-year-old, the other one is 10-year-old. They're fighting over it, and each is adamant about possessing it. And they show no intention of yielding. They have been fighting over it. And दोनों को कि यही orange चाहिए, ये orange मुझे चाहिए, ये orange मुझे चाहिए. Now there is, in that household, there is that father who is working from home, and he is getting irritated because he's on an important project, and he says, क्यों लड़ रही? What is exactly the matter? And the answer that the two kids give is कि ये orange मुझे चाहिए. Elder one says नहीं मुझे चाहिए. And he is not able to solve the matter. Right?
जिसमें दीपांशी
Is
नहीं
this a
दीवांशी
conflict situation? My first question.
बस द्वारा
कोई
तीज
बहुत
क्यों
बड़ी
मनाई
भारी
जाती है कि
भरकम
संबंध में
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट
भी
नहीं है, पर is it a conflict? Yes. Anuj says yes.
ये लिखो का उत्सव आयोजन किया
This
ऐसा
appears
लिखो
to be a
उत्सव का
conflict
आयोजन
situation.
किया
Now the second question is,
जिसमें
place
बड़ी
yourselves
संख्या
in the
में
shoes of the father or the babysitter for that matter. The babysitter enters and asks the same
उनके
question, but
बड़ी
I've
संख्या में
left a sort of
महिलाओं ने
question mark
भागीदारी
there.
की
So place yourselves in the shoes of the babysitter or the father.
जिसमें
How would
दीवांशी
you
वस्त
solve
द्वारा
the problem?
ये
How would
दीवांशी है
you
दीवांशी है
resolve the conflict?
वस्त द्वारा तीज को मनाई जाती है कि संबंध में बताते हुए कहा कि श्रवण मास के
Yash has
शुक्ल
an
पक्ष
answer.
है
Shrishti also has an answer.
Ma'am, as a
Yes,
babysitter, I
Anuj,
would
yes.
say as the image is suggesting, the baby sister would suggest that the two siblings share that orange either by cutting it into two parts or, as I believe someone said, making that into a juice. And I also think that the reason why the father could not solve it is because him being the father, he sort of has a bias. Because they are his children, but the babysitter, being sort of an outsider, would be able to give an unbiased opinion on this. That's why she was able to solve it.
Okay.
एकता गोयल को तीज क्वीन
Okay. Though I haven't
Pratagiti
revealed that yet,
शर्मा को
but
तीज
yes,
लेडी
you're correct. Yes, babysitter was indeed able to solve
के
it.
रूप में चुना
But
गया
how is a different matter. So Anuj says, छोड़ो ऑरेंज को जूस निकाल दो और दोनों को दे दो आधा
तथा
ठीक है सॉल्व हो गई
तीज उत्सव
सिचुएशन
में
ओके यश सेज आधा आधा कर दीजिए सृष्टि हैज अ रेज्ड हैंड
Yes, ma'am. I also
उपस्थित
think
महिलाओं
that
ने
the orange should be
परंपरागत रूप से
divided, but I
ढोलक
don't
की
agree with
थाप
the
पर व
explanation.
डीजे
Father must be
पर
biased. I think
सावन
he
के
was
गीतों
not
में
thinking of
झूम
the
कर
creative
डांस किया
solution and seeing the problem as
और
a whole rather than looking for a
झूला
creative
झूला
solution to that conflict between both the siblings.
तथा साथ ही साथ
Okay, so what would you have rather done,
विभिन्न
Srishti?
गेम
That remains the question. You would have divided it.
विभिन्न
I would have cut
गेम
the
भी महिलाओं
orange
के लिए
and then
आयोजित किए
divided
गए
it between the two siblings. Or yeah, as
ठीक
you
है
have wrote in the text box that make a juice out of it and give to both the children equally.
Okay, great,
इस अवसर
great.
पर
All right. Now
घर
focus
की
on
बच्चियों
the
ने
slide closely.
घर की बच्ची
He
लड़कियों ने
says the
इस
father.
अवसर पर
What
घर
is
की
the
लड़कियों
question that he's asking?
संजना वंश
What is the
क्यों
matter?
स्थानीय आद्या आद्या
What do you want? The focus of the question
वाणी
or the
रिया
operative expression is what?
परी
What
और
do
लिखा
you want?
परी ने
राइट और जहाँ व्हाट का अगर क्वेश्चन ही
सहयोग
आपने
दिया
व्हाट की तरह से पूछा देन आंसर वुड बी द एल्डर पर्सन सेज एल्डर
I
चाइल्ड
believe in
सेज
headlines.
what
परिवार
do I want? Of course, I
एवं
want this
कॉलोनी से
orange,
लगभग 70-80
right?
महिलाएं
And the
उपस्थित
younger
रहीं
child would say, yes, the same orange. I want the same orange. That is what I want. So,
उपस्थित रहीं
and the babysitter
बाद में
now,
सभी ने
because
चाट
the
पार्टी का
father is not
स्वादिष्ट
able to solve it, the
व्यंजनों का
babysitter
स्वाद लिया
enters and asks the same question. So she asks, what? She asks, what do you want?
ठीक है
Right? In addition, so what may answer वही आता है ये orange चाहिए ये orange
फिर
चाहिए. But the babysitter moves a step ahead.
Okay.
Okay. And in addition to asking what, she asks, why do you want it? Okay. Why do you want it? And that acts as a game changer. Fine. That question reveals the underlying interests of both the parties and acts as a game changer because the elder child says, I want the zest, the peel. Why? Because I want to bake a flavorful cake. And the younger child says, I want the pulp because I want to eat it. Now tell me, is the question why acting as a game changer?
Yes,
Is there a
ma'am.
conflict now? Does the conflict remain? No, it doesn't. दोनों को जो चाहिए था मिल गया ना? Yes? दोनों को जो चाहिए था वो मिल गया. Now, this one way of responding to this conflict is that you halve the orange. जैसे कि as the figure shows, as the responses that I received, most of you said that most of you of who gave the response actually suggested halving it, right? आधा आधा दे दो, ठीक है, दोनों खुश, fine. But actually, both wanted the complete orange, so both are likely to be grumpy. Both might accept the resolution of the conflict, but they would be with a long face. They would be sad because they wanted the complete orange, right? Uh, but for a different purpose. So the operative part of the babysitter's important question is why, and why is most of the times in most of the negotiations a wonderful, wonderful question to ask. Most of the negotiations get stuck at what. What do you want? I want this property. This property belongs to me. मेरा अधिकार है. मुझे ये property चाहिए. Right? मुझे ये ऐसे ही करना है. This is what I want. Why? Why do you want to do it in this particular fashion? Why do you want this property? Why do you want this orange? Right? That reveals the underlying interest. So if we get stuck on what, if we remain stuck on what, it is considered in negotiation literature a position-based approach. Position. What is the position of the elder child? I want this orange. What is the position of the younger child? I want this orange. The position is the same. Position-based bargaining, position-based negotiations, they are very difficult to give you creative results, right? And it is likely that if at all a resolution is reached, both the parties are likely to be grumpy, not happy, right? But if we probe a bit further, if we are patient to a bit more extent, okay, a bit more patient with the whole situation, and we are able to, one of the parties at least has the wisdom to ask the question, why? अच्छा तुम्हें ये चाहिए पर मुझे बताओ तो सही क्यों चाहिए? Why? It will explore, it will open up new vistas where the same problem can be looked at from a different angle altogether, leading to a very creative solution, or opening a window at least where a creative solution, from which a creative solution can enter. All right, so I'll just quickly sort of yes, the previous slide. So what is conflict? Just to weave it together so that these slides do not appear to be isolated sort of pointers to you. We start with conflict. ठीक है, और हमने कहा conflict is difficult to define, easy to understand. Even if we start to define conflict, what we can gather is actually reasons behind the conflict. Reasons हमें मिल जाएं तो हमें लगता है कि अगर हम reasons हटा दें तो शायद conflict हट जाए, पर conflict हटती नहीं, वो रहती है. ठीक है, so what is the best thing that one can do with conflict? The best thing that one can do with conflict is to develop the ability to deal with it. And there are various ways in which we can develop that ability, or rather, the various ways in which one responds to conflict has been in negotiation literature clubbed in 5 ways. Okay, it has been categorized in 5 parts, or there are 5 predominant ways in which one responds to conflict. जिसमें से एक part अभी आप कर चुके हैं, जिसमें आपने कहा कि आधा आधा कर लीजिए ऑरेंज को. That is also one way of responding to the conflict. I'm not saying वो गलत है, लेकिन it would not lead to an optimal resolution. Fine? It is likely to keep both the parties unhappy. So in order for us to explore more optimal resolutions to a conflict, we have to focus on this slide. Is this visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So it says 5 predominant ways in which we respond to conflict. ये 5 ways जो आपके सामने हैं, यही 5 ways हैं जिसमें हमारे सबके behaviors, whenever we are faced with a conflict situation, the way we respond to that conflict can be fit into these 5 predominant ways. Okay, and they are known as negotiation styles. Fine, and I'll try and explain with the help of try and explain this page slide with the help of that orange example itself. Now, as you can see on the slide, the first one that has been mentioned, it says avoiding, yes, avoid or being indifferent to conflict. So, in this orange example, so there is one orange in the household, वो डाइनिंग टेबल पे रखा है. अब दोनों बच्चों को वो ऑरेंज चाहिए और दोनों में से कोई भी कॉन्वर्सेशन को टॉक को इनिशिएट करने के लिए रेडी नहीं. But both of them are in deep inside their being, there is a conflict going on. That अगर ये मुझसे पहले ले ले ऑरेंज, अगर दूसरा मुझसे पहले ले ले ऑरेंज, so there is a conflict, right? But both of them are, since they are not willing to initiate the conversation, they are avoiding the conflict, right? And that's one way of dealing with it. They are avoiding the conflict. Now, point is, my question: if you avoid the conflict, is the conflict going to go away? Yes. Is it going to disappear if you avoid it?
No, ma'am.
नहीं, conflict वही रहेगी. It is not going to do. But at the same time, again, I'm not grading these responses as the best or inferior. I'm not doing that at all. These are very standard ways in which each one of us responds to a certain conflict. And to give you a better relatable example, आप लोग in the sense that students sometimes they sit on protest. They do. I hope everybody would be able to relate to this situation, particularly in any university system. This happens. Yes, students they sit on a protest on a dharna. Yes.
नहीं मुझे सुनना था.
Yes,
होता है ना?
नेगोशिएशन बता रही है.
हाँ. तो अब that is a conflict situation. Because they are demanding something, say for instance from the management, from the administration is not willing to listen to them, and hence this is a conflict. I hope everybody would agree that this is a conflict situation. Any other view to it? Any person who says it is not a conflict?
नहीं क्यों?
It is a conflict.
मैं
right?
कपड़े पहन के आऊंगी.
What does the administration do? Administration most of the times आपकी immediately बात नहीं सुनेंगे. ठीक है, हफ्ता हो गया, 10 दिन हो गए, 15 दिन आप बैठे हैं. ठीक है, तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को भी पता है कि हाँ जी वहाँ पर स्टूडेंट्स प्रोटेस्ट में बैठे हैं. फाइन, दे आर अवॉइडिंग द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज बीइंग इनडिफरेंट टू द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. That is one way of responding to the conflict only. In the hope, why does one do that? Why does the administration resort to this sort of tactic, which is actually just a response to a conflict situation? It is a negotiation style, actually, which says, which is moving on the presumption that, okay, let them sit for how long, after all, they are going to sit in protest. Over a period of time, everything would fizzle out and things are going to resolve themselves. Okay, so this is just one way of responding to the conflict. You avoid the conflict. Fine. I've given a relatable example, and again I'm emphasizing I'm not branding or tagging any response, any style as superior or inferior. Each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Second is accommodating. Accommodating is easy to understand, particularly those who have siblings. They would be in a position to relate to it very easily. बड़ा भाई है या बड़ा बहन है, उसे ज़रूर से ज़रूर ये विजडम मिलता है बड़े लोगों से कि भाई अब तुम बड़े हो, एक ऑरेंज के पीछे लड़ रहे हो, दे दो छोटों को. होता है या नहीं होता? Yes. Those who are attending, respond. होता है ऐसा?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Very easy to relate to. Fine. So here also, the if in between the two, if the say for instance without involving the father or the babysitter, this wisdom can dawn upon the elder person, elder child, that okay, एक दो घंटे में मुझे डांट पड़ ही जाएगी अगर मैं ऐसे अड़ा रहूंगा इस ऑरेंज पर, तो मैं ही लेट मी गिव इन, राइट? So the बड़ा भाई or the sister says okay you have it this time but the next time on ये मुझे मिलेगा या मैं whatever be the justification. So actually the behavior that you are displaying is you are giving it, you are accommodating. This is also one way of resolving the conflict, to accommodate. Okay, and when you are in the final year and when you are being taught negotiation formally as such, you'll realize that our reading material, it carries a wonderful psychoanalytic analysis sort of a test which enables one to gauge one's predominant behavior, the predominant negotiation style. So 30 या 40 questions हैं attached और उनको आप आंसर दें अगर honestly आपको अपना negotiation style पता चल जाएगा, whether you are accommodating, whether you are avoiding, in nature. So avoiding is one style, another is accommodating, I've done. And the third that is visible on your screen is competing. Competing is when competing in case of siblings again is easy to understand, दोनों लड़ लिए आपस में, ठीक है, लड़ लिए in the sense गुत्थम गुत्था fisticuffs, and they are fighting over, literally fighting over that orange now, fine, and with the result it's a typical win-lose situation. And the proper analogy to understand win-lose situation is when you analogize it with that of litigation. Litigation is a win-lose situation. It's a zero-sum game. Okay, zero-sum game in the sense that the benefits are that one gets, the advantages that accrue to one person, they exactly match the losses that are suffered by the other person. Okay, it's a win-lose situation. So अगर यहाँ पर दोनों आपस में लड़ के बड़ा भाई ने छीन लिया ऑरेंज या छोटे बहन ने छीन लिया ऑरेंज, it's a win-lose situation. Similarly, if they say that okay हम लड़ते नहीं हैं, let's toss a coin. Okay, let's toss a coin and जो हारा उसके पास ऑरेंज नहीं होगा, जो जीतेगा उसके पास उसे ऑरेंज मिल जाएगा. That also is another way of another competition situation only. Okay, so the way to resolve, another way to resolve the conflict is to compete. Similarly, so many times the responses that I get here is कि भाई फादर ने क्या किया, फादर ने कहा कि जो सबसे पहले होमवर्क करेगा finish उसको ही ऑरेंज मिल जाएगा. Again, this is with the intervention of the father. It is actually a competition situation. He has pitted one person against the other and created a competition situation. All right, so competition is a win-lose situation. Next is compromise. Compromise is a lose-lose situation. Compromise is जो कि आपका predominant response आया. I think Anuj, Srishti, and one more person had responded to how they would resolve the conflict, and they said या तो हम ऑरेंज आधा आधा कर देंगे या उसका जूस निकाल देंगे और जूस को आधा कर देंगे. Fine, with the result that it is a compromise situation. Why? Because, and why lose-lose? Because each one of them wanted the complete unit, the complete orange, and none of them is getting the complete orange. So both are losing out on something, right? And hence it's a lose-lose situation. Again, as I said, and it's a very classic response to any conflict. Rather, the most favored response to any conflict is compromise. And hence the importance of compromise cannot be underestimated at all. So compromise is just another way, another negotiation style, another way to respond to conflict. And the last one is collaborating. Collaborating थोड़ी सी ideal situation होती है. Why? Because collaboration requires optimal application of the first 5 pointers that I had given you. We talk, we listen, we do not presume, rather we confirm, and we also listen to what is not being said, and we ask the right questions while we are talking. Okay, so collaboration requires working together, effective communication to discover a truly win-win situation. ठीक है, जो कि बेबी सिटर ने किया यहाँ पर. वो सिर्फ व्हाट क्वेश्चन पर नहीं अटकी रही. भाई क्या चाहिए तुम्हें, क्यों लड़ रहे हो, क्या चाहिए, क्यों लड़ रहे हैं, इस ऑरेंज पे लड़ रहे हैं, क्या चाहिए, ये ऑरेंज चाहिए, क्यों चाहिए, तुम्हें क्यों चाहिए वो ऑरेंज. Right? That's the right question, and it acted as a game changer, which resulted in a collaboration situation. Okay, with the result that it's a win-win for both. I hope with the help of the orange example, the way I've tried to, at least I've made an attempt to explain, it is making sense. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So if this has, I mean, if it has made sense till now, let's just quickly move to the next. I think the last or the second last slide that is there. It says what is negotiation. अब हमने इतनी राम कथा कह ली, लेकिन हमें ये नहीं पता negotiation क्या है. Again, negotiation as because all this till now, till in the first 11 slides, what we were doing was we were preparing ourselves to negotiate, and we were trying to understand the predominant negotiation styles that are there. But what exactly is negotiation? So many times that is also misunderstood. Now, what is available, what is visible to you on the left of the slide, where it says negotiation is a process that we use to influence the other person's behavior, because he or she is the one who controls what we want. That is how most of the negotiation literature. Okay, that's a very standard kind of a definition that one goes with. What is negotiation? It is a process, first of all. It's not something that we start and complete in a jiffy, right? It's a process. It takes time. It's a process that may cover 3 months or more than that, right? Negotiation is a process involving multiple sessions that we use to influence the other person's behavior. Why are we wanting to influence that other person's behavior? Because we have realized that he is the one who controls what we want. Okay? So in a way, it is a way to influence the other person's sort of conduct. All right. So this is how we understand negotiation. इसमें एक छोटी सी प्रॉब्लम आती है. वो ये है कि so many times, and what I have written on the slide is purely on the basis of my experience as a teacher, and not as a practitioner of negotiation, but more as a teacher of negotiation. And most of the times, the students they come to me and say, okay, आप हमें अटेंडेंस दे दीजिए एक्स्ट्रा. Okay, that's a very standard this thing that I get. Okay, please, can we are negotiating with you for extra attendance. Okay, I could not attend the previous 2 lectures, give me attendance, we are negotiating with you. That's the expression that they use. And they say, please, can I have an extra attendance? Now, kindly note, you are talking to me, trying to influence my behavior, all right, because I control something that you want, right? But this is not negotiation, it is simply a request. Right? It is simply a request, and I'll tell you why. What is missing in this particular point, because of which it is not negotiation. I'll tell you why. Second point is, let me deal with the second point first. second point that is written is it would be in the interest of my studies, ma'am. I was busy doing this internship, that internship, and so मेरा तो पूरा semester गड़बड़ हो जाएगा if I'm detained. So it would be in the interest of my course, in the interest of my studies, that I'm given this much attendance. Okay. Again, is this negotiation? You're definitely trying to influence my behavior, and why? Because I control what you want. But then, is it negotiation? No, it is not negotiation. It is your emotional appeal to me so that I do some charity. Okay, I show some sympathy. That's all. It's not negotiation. So, what is this? Negotiation is always give and take. It cannot simply be give and take. Negotiation is always give and take. All right. So this is the fundamental premise that one needs to understand if one needs to understand the concept of negotiation, what they are entering into, what they are talking about. They have engaged into a conversation, they have initiated a conversation, but if the whole purpose of it is just to take, if the whole purpose of it is just to give, it cannot be negotiation. Negotiation is always give and take. All right. So this is it, and yes, there are many negotiations in all this conversation bit. Whatever the story that I've told you just now, we employ umpteen number of strategies. What is written on the screen, I think there are 7 or 8 strategies that have been mentioned, and I'm not going to deal with these strategies here because this was just an introductory session on negotiation. For me to deal with strategies, it has to be it would amount to something else, not an introductory session. All right, so I would put a pause to my presentation, and yes, thank you very much for being a patient listener. I hope I have not exceeded the time. I have enjoyed this monologue. So far, it has been primarily as a majorly a monologue, but then I'm open to uh, any questions. If there are any, I would be happy to answer them. Yes.
Participants, if you're having any question, you can either raise your hand or you can put them in the chat box.
None? All right
Ma'am,
then.
Ma'am, we are having a question that by Bharat Bhushan Mehta, that bribing is a kind of negotiation. There is, of course, give and take situation involved in bribing. So he's asking, is bribing also a type of negotiation?
Okay. So, a good question, first of all. All right. A good question. Why? Because there are aspects to negotiation which we can teach, and there are aspects to negotiation which we would rather not teach. And one part of negotiation is whether one important part of negotiation is whether we are being ethical at it. Okay, fairness and ethics, they go side by side when we talk of negotiation, because and if we are saying that, I would put this bribing business as closer to bargaining than negotiation. You see, bargaining is a bit different, though it can be taken as a subset of negotiation, but it is a distinct sort of process altogether.
बात भागने की नहीं है
Negotiation is a broader concept because It is a more collaborative process
client
where
counseling
parties
की वो है।
engage in discussion in order to reach an agreement.
क्या कहते हैं
And
इसे?
it is more
Competition.
or less mutual because you
24
tend to
25th.
explore interests,
मुझे जाना ही
you tend to to
मैं
elaborate on your
मंडे को जैसे
positions,
जाने का सोच रही
and
थी कि मंडे को गाड़ी जाएगी तो
you
मैं चली
tend to
जाऊंगी।
find, you are looking to
फिर
find
यहाँ पे
mutually
काम करेंगे,
beneficial solutions.
सब छोड़
In
के
bribing,
हैं?
you are not doing that, and hence bribing would be more closer to unethical bargaining, wherein as I said, which can be taken as a subset of negotiation, which is characterized by unethical competitive haggling over a particular issue. And you are and it is more it goes against the whole ethos of negotiation. Why? Because apart from being unfair and unethical, it is adversarial in nature. ठीक है? Mutually beneficial वो उसे हम किसी भी तरह से नहीं कह सकते. Yeah.
Ma'am, if we can just have one more question, that's by Srishti Upadhyay. That difference in negotiation strategy for active conflict and for a situation to avoid a conflict.
ग्रुप में कैसे ऐड होगा?
वो ऐड नहीं होते ग्रुप में, ये किट्टू ने ऐड करा होगा तो इसको भी कर दिया,
Okay,
लक्ष्य भी ऐड किया
if I've understood
तो उसे तो लेफ्ट कर दिया
your can all right.
Yes.
I would like to, I would like the person, if that person is still a part of the audience, to elaborate a bit
24th को
on this,
कैलेंडर खोलना।
so that I can
Srishti,
answer
can you
within
please?
the
Yes, ma'am. I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, but my question is, what would be the difference in strategy of negotiation if we're in a situation where we want to avoid a conflict, and in a situation we are in the middle of an active conflict?
Okay. So if you are wanting to avoid a conflict,
वैसे सोचती 26
first of all,
सैटरडे
in my experience, I would say
29 को तो आना ही पड़ेगा
the basic thing that one should do in order to avoid a conflict is to not be averse to talking, to listen with your faculties in place, okay, and not presume. You will be in a position to avoid a lot of conflict.
Ma'am, just a second. I will just unmute.
Okay, was I in mute?
Yes, ma'am. Now you are unmute. You can just continue.
आपकी इसमें है ना सारी फोटोज
Okay.
वीडियोस ये डिलीट कर दो
So, I think I should start from the start. The point that I had already made, I'll repeat that, and that was, if one wants, there are two segments to the question. One, what are the tactics that I should employ in order to avoid, and what should I do if I'm into an active conflict, right? But in order to avoid conflict, the basic thing, the basic minimum that is required is you should not be averse to talking, okay, to initiating the discussion. You should not be averse to taking the initiative, listening properly, and not presuming. So you should be proactively trying to seek a confirmation if at all a presumption is going in your head, okay, that can lead to a lot of avoidance of conflict. Okay.
तो वाइपर नहीं
In order to ensure that the result is successful, if you are into a conflict altogether, if you are into a conflict already, then the first thing that I would suggest is not to approach the conflict without preparation. You see, failing to research research and failing to plan out before you actually sit to negotiate can weaken your position altogether and be damaging at all, to begin with, to start with.
वैसे भी इस गद्दे पे तेरा
Fine.
पेट
So
पेट
do
बहुत दर्द
not
करता है
approach any
ठीक है, तो
negotiation
sorry,
situation without
सच्ची में
preparation.
अच्छा करता है
That is one. Second is,
नहीं,
once you are
नहीं,
into that talk wherein you are saying that you are negotiating, try
थोड़ा
not
सीधे
to
सो।
operate on
और
extremes.
डॉग को लेके वहाँ सोना
Try not to do that. In the sense
ऐसा
that
है ना,
I'll explain
dog को लेके
operating
वहाँ
on extremes in
तो बता
a
ना
simpler way.
पाँच
Say for
मिनट
instance,
क्या करना है
if you are conceding too quickly,
अब
yeah, you are in a your position is a position
तो
of
मैं भी बेहोश
power,
ये
position of
एग्जैक्टली है
strength
पॉइंट बेहोश मैं भी
as
होती हूँ
compared to the
लेकिन जब
other
उसने
party.
पागल इतना वो करा तो मुझे
And
उठना
out of
पड़ा
sympathy or out of an emotional appeal that the
निक्की
other
ने
person
उठाया मुझे
has
मैं
made,
बेहोश
you
हो
are
गई
making
ठीक है तो फिर क्या फिर
are,
क्या
are,
ये
are
तो
doling
यही
out
बात है
concessions a bit too
और
early,
ये भी बिल्कुल ऐसे
then
क्या
and particularly without extracting
वही बात है
sufficient value for yourself,
से इतना
then you are
बेहोश होती हूँ
weakening
मैं
your position.
किट्टू गुट्टा में इतनी
Okay?
ज़्यादा बेहोश
So,
होती है एक दिन वो आधे
do
घंटे
not
चाची
operate
दरवाजा
on
पीटते
this
हैं,
extreme
तो
wherein you are
ऐसा लगा
conceding too
मुझे
quickly.
हमारे घर सारी मशीन
Again,
खराब हो
the
गई
other
मुझ में से
extreme
आवाज़
to
आ
this
रही
would
चाची
be you are being so rigid that you are totally unwilling to compromise, because that also is going to lead not to a solution but to an impasse. Okay, so I believe that is all
बताओ क्या करना
that I would say at this point.
मारेंगे और बोलेंगे
This introductory
सोने
session.
का टाइम है
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for taking the questions. I would just like to request all the participants to switch on their videos so that we can have a group picture.
इसको
And with this, we have come to the end of this really insightful and illuminating session. And I take this opportunity to give away the vote of thanks. I would firstly like to thank our speaker, Dr. Sunanda Bharti, for taking time out and giving us such a comprehensive and thought-provoking knowledge and understanding of negotiation. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would further like to thank our teachers, Dr. Ashutosh Mishra and Dr. Rohit Munka, for always supporting and guiding us. And last but not the least, I would like to thank you all for joining us and being such a sincere and interactive audience. And I hope you all have gained valuable knowledge and are pretty eager for our upcoming sessions. So let us all stay connected, be a part of this series, and make the most out of it. Thank you so much all. Thanks for joining.
ये देख वैभव 528 संजना वाज 530 वैभव
Thank you, ma'am.
530 वैभव भैया 530 वैभव भैया 750 उसके बाद जब मम्मी आ गई ना मैंने बोला मम्मी प्लीज वैभव को उठा के भेज दो
उसने कुछ सुनाई नहीं आपने उसने एंड कर दी ऐसा नहीं था आप
मैं ही होस्ट थी
वो आप ही होस्ट थी यार